Well, please welcome the new head coach of the Indianapolis Colts, Matt Taylor. Matt, how are you?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
I'm all right. I just love messing with people, man.
Um,
Yeah. It's been a week. It's been a week for you. I'm sure you've had to go through it and deal with the surprises and the because I like I said I've compared Indiana to the Colts a lot this season, and while I don't expect a change to happen at Indiana, you're going through that ride of the things that are going on, and then you are doing the same thing with the Colts. And although, man, I was so surprised and disappointed to see Frank Reich go because everybody really liked him. And that's a little usually undifferent. A lot of times you've always when things are going well and the coach is always it's easy not to like him. It wasn't the case for Frank Reich.
no doubt about it. Yeah. So from a personal standpoint, with me, it's very difficult because Frank was. I mean, I work close with Frank, and talk to him a couple times a week for 4+ years during the season and off season as well. And he treated me with unbelievable amount of kindness and respect, and I enjoyed talking with him. I learned a lot about football, and I just admired how he how he carried himself, sort of represented the organization by being the man that he was and that he is. And so from that standpoint, it was a very difficult day to see him, lose his job in the fashion that he did, having 8 games to go and not being able to kind of see it through and, get this thing corrected and put right on the right track, if you will. So, yeah, it's always difficult. I've been through 3 of these things now. I've been with the Colts since really 2011, so I've seen 3 coaching changes. So yeah, it's tough on that standpoint, but I mean, listen, it's a bottom line deal. I mean, nobody's immune to it. Everybody gets judged and evaluated every single day, every single year. And anytime you talk about an offense that's last in scoring, they're basically bottom tier and everything towards the bottom in every major offensive statistical category. 0 for 14 the other day on third down. You gave up 9 sacks. That was sort of the breaking point, and it was just a disappointing showing in New England, and now you're 3-5-1, and it's going to be tough to win the AFC South. I mean, these are things we've already talked about, but in the last 3 weeks, you've had a benching of a future Hall of Fame quarterback, firing of an offensive coordinator, firing of a head coach. As of now, you have nobody on the offensive coaching staff that has called plays in the NFL. And now you have an interim coach that has no experience coaching in the college ranks or in the NFL, a guy that's on television and, he's an all-time great. There's no doubt about that. Ring of Honor guy and Jeff Saturday was part of that era of greatness, the all-time winningest era of football, decade of football for any team from 2000 to 2009. They won 12 games seemingly every year in that span. But yeah, no, I mean, every single week, every single Monday's been just chaos, and that's sort of representative of where this team is right now.
I'm curious, Matt, because I've heard things kind of mentioned 2 different ways. Number one is obviously, the Colts decided to bring in a guy with, as you mentioned, no coaching experience, and you've got guys on that staff who have worked hard, might be a little frustrated by the decision to bring in somebody who lacks experience. But on the other side, we talked with Bob Kravitz yesterday, and it's maybe the goal is to bring in somebody with a fresh set of eyes who can give you that, 10,000-foot view of the Colts, kind of the unbiased look, and say, here's what you need to do. Here's some adjustments you need to make. Here's what you need, all that kind of stuff. I'm just curious, have you gotten a sense for what the energy is around the franchise right now? I mean, I know this has all happened very quickly, but have you gotten a sense for the energy right now?
Yeah, I mean, yesterday was his first day on the job with the players. Tuesday's an off day. Everything happened so fast on Monday. Tuesday's an off day. Yesterday they had walkthrough, first practice, so he addressed the team for the first time in totality yesterday. And guys talked about that in the locker room yesterday during media availability, that Jeff definitely has presence and he's got energy and he's transparent. And he's going to keep it real. I mean, he knows what it's like to be in their shoes because he's literally been in that locker room before for 13 years, with the Colts. So, from that standpoint, he's going to keep it real. And I think he is going to bring a good energy about things. And also, maybe add some, like you said, some fresh eyes, some fresh energy around the club. But as guys also said on the other side of it is, you got to build up trust and you got to build up loyalty, and that takes time. That is established in full over the course of time. And I mean, listen, this is hair on fire right now. This is Jeff Saturday drinking out of a fire hydrant, and it's everything's come at him so fast, and he's got to put a game plan together. He announced that Parks Frazier, who is the assistant quarterbacks coach, he's going to call plays now. He's a bright kid. He's 30 years old, but he's never called plays before, so he's going to get that first opportunity. So, I just think of it from Sam Ellinger's perspective, right? I mean, this is going to be his third start of his career coming up on Sunday, and he's going to essentially have 3 different offensive coordinators in 3 games, in 3 starts. I mean, that's just unheard of. That's got to be unprecedented. I don't know what the research is on that, but I've never heard of that before. So it's just all of that just sort of adding up to a lot of newness, fresh eyes, fresh energy. And I think the $1 million question is, how is this team going to respond to this on game day? Because it's all about how you play on that given day, because the preparation can be good or bad, but it's how you translate things on Sunday. And we'll see how this team responds to Jeff Saturday as their coach on the sidelines.
Well, also just to see how they, it's their season. This is, so different than the college game or anything else. These guys are men. This is truly their team. And it's going to be interesting to see, do they, I don't want to say give up, or keep fighting to win. You can tell when you're fighting to win. And a lot of people have mentioned the tank, just like the Pacers, and go out and just say, you know what, this is going to be a 4-12 season or whatever, and go out and get one of those great young quarterbacks. We'll see how it all ends at the end of the season, but it's going to be interesting to see what the optics look like, at least going along.
Well, I think the most interesting thing about this is that there's still 8 games to go. It's not as if like there's 4 games or 3 games and it's week 14 or 15 and you already know, like, hey, you've been eliminated from playoff contention, or it's a long shot to make the playoffs. No, I mean, this team mathematically and hypothetically still has everything in front of it. They still can make a push, right? There's still half of the season essentially to play, so they can still get back into it if they respond the right way and accept Jeff Saturday for who he is and what he represents in terms of their failures in the first part of the season. So from that standpoint, it's fascinating because it's not as if like there's 1 or 2 games left and they're just gonna, they're going to go out there, they're going to play hard, but likely not have a chance to win. No, like they're still trying to hit the reset button with 8 games to go, trying to do something here. And I know people might laugh at that, and that's fine. But that's the reality of this, is that guys are still playing for contracts, and there's a bunch of free agents that are going to be up next spring. And, is Jeff Saturday going to be the coach next year? If he is, they might want to make a good impression here for the last 2 months of the season. So all of that's in play. I think right now it's just all bigger picture, guys. I think the biggest word you can use is professionalism. We're going to see how much professionalism this team has right now with kind of putting on the blinders and balancing, feeling for Frank Reich, accepting the responsibility that they played in his firing and dismissal after 9 games, and then also accepting Jeff Saturday as their coach right now, and going out there and trying to, just be a pro and get ready day by day for 8 more games.
I don't know if this is I don't know if this question is gonna come off correctly. I don't know. Like it feels like I'm not quite buying into the notion, and Jim Irsay denounced this notion too of the tank, because I feel like this was I don't know a better word to say, desperate move. Like it seems to me like Jim Irsay is still trying to salvage something out of this season, despite how ugly it's looked at times. But one of the questions I have, Matt, is because the offensive line has played so poorly, and you thought coming into this season it was going to be maybe one of the strengths of this team, is that a reason why Jim Irsay targeted Jeff Saturday? Like, if there's a guy who can help fix the offensive line, because to me that's clearly been the biggest issue. If there's somebody who can fix it, who's close to the franchise, who will, take that kind of personally, is he the guy to do it? Like that to me is just another reason why I'm not quite sold on the idea of a tank, because I feel like if you were quote unquote tanking, you would have just left everything in place and said, we're probably going to win 5 or 6 games. This felt like a move where I want to try to salvage something of the season. I think Jeff can come in and at least help this offensive line get better, and maybe we'll have a shot at the end of the season.
Yeah, that's probably part of it. There's no doubt. You're talking about a guy that, again, he was here for 13 years and was part of I think the stat is Jeff Saturday's offensive line that he was a part of in 7 seasons when he was with the Colts allowed the fewest sacks in the NFL. So out of 13 years, he was part of 7 different offensive lines that allowed the fewest sacks in the NFL. Now, obviously, Peyton Manning's your quarterback, and he's getting rid of the ball fast and all of that. But still, he knows what good offensive line play is and what it should look like. And let's be real. I mean, if you were in an elevator in Las Vegas, which ironically I'll be in this weekend, if you were in an elevator with somebody and they said, "Oh, you're the play-by-play guy for the Colts, sum up their season while I go up to the 7th floor," I would use 3 words. I would say turnovers and offensive line play. Well, that's 4 words. So turnovers and offensive line. But you get what I'm saying. Like I think if the Colts could protect, if the Colts had consistency up front, I think Frank Reich's still here, and I think they probably win 2 or 3 more games. Turnovers have killed them. Sacks allowed have killed them. Pressures have killed drives and knocked them out of field goal range and just come up at really bad times. So I think the root of most of this team's problems, at least on offense, especially on offense, has been the offensive line. And so, I do think it's I don't know to what degree, Dustin, but I'm sure that's part of it, why he's here, because he's had so much success. And again, he can kind of put his, a new spin or a new, kind of put his thumbprint on the offensive line and help Chris Strausser find some solutions to all these free pressures and or free blitzers and, stunts and line issues that the Colts offensive line has gone through this season. So I think that's definitely part of it. But I think the biggest thing is leadership, charisma, personality, leader of men. But there's no question that his offensive line acumen is probably part of this.
Well, and Jim makes a comparison to Indiana, because Indiana's offensive line has not been good either. But to me, this is a little bit different in the fact that these are all professionals. They've been in the league for a couple of years.
The highest paid offensive line in the game.
Right. And so I feel like just a different voice and making some tweaks schematically or something along those lines. Like, you don't need, like, Indiana University needs a full offseason to improve. The Colts, I feel like you can have somebody come in.
Yeah, IU needs better players. I mean, the Colts have invested Braden Smith, extension, Ryan Kelly, extension, Quentin Nelson, highest paid offensive lineman in the game. If you need better players,
that's what's driving Jim Irsay so mad. It's not like he's sitting with on his hands, not providing the players to perform the way that he wants to see them perform. Right. So that's why, if people want to know why he made the move that he made, as hard as this, I guarantee you that was as hard on him as probably any coach that he's had to fire, maybe. But at the same time, he's saying, "Hey, I want performance. I provided the players. I'm not seeing it.
Yeah, no. So to be fair, though, I mean, right guard has been an issue. Left tackle has been an issue. I mean, the Colts have used a handful of players at each spot this season, so those have been an issue. I mean, quarterback play. I mean, quarterbacks. I mean, they don't bear all of the responsibility up front with the pressures, but they got to get out of bad plays. They have to know where to go with the football. They need to get rid of the football quicker. And you've had two different quarterbacks this season, and you've had, Matt Ryan started this season, and I know he had a full off season and he had a full training camp, which is miles ahead of where they've been the last couple of years with their rotating cast of quarterbacks, but he's still in a new situation on a new team for the first time. So I think just the growing pains there, just all of it, inconsistency at those two positions, those three mainstays that we talked about, Kelly, Nelson, Smith, underperforming. Yeah, it's just been, I don't know. It's just been one of those seasons.